Hello, welcome to another episode of the Super Team Podcast. Today we have not one but two very special guests. Akshay, who are we speaking to today and why is it important?
Today we're speaking to Anand, formerly known as Twobadaur, who is the CEO of eDAO or the Entertainment DAO, and Mairu, who is the COO of eDAO, who comes with a rich experience in the mainstream entertainment industry. And Twobadaur, of course, comes with his own rich experience of the crypto industry and before it was even called the industry. So, gentlemen, welcome to the Super Team Podcast.
Thank you. I have one question. Yeah, first off, is this like going to be like a comedy show, or because Tanmay, you do like full spectrum from Balaji to butt jokes? So I want to know like where we fit into this spectrum, so I can like orient myself.
I actually want to ask Miru if what was it like moving from the NBA and then Sony Music now to Web3? I'm sure there's a bunch of different reactions from ex-colleagues asking you what the hell is Web3 to them asking you saying is this good time to buy Bitcoin? What has it ranged to?
Yeah, and then the third thing was why are you going and working for a scam? And sort of risking your web to promising career and shit like that. So it's ranged from that to me actually forming a group saying get rich fast, and sort of it's a WhatsApp broadcast list where I just put like Luna and stuff, uh, just to fuck
Oh,
with.
great.
Great, good
Fabulous.
stuff.
So whatever is not working, I just being sarcastic, but like when why I moved in the first place was because I really believed in, I think about probably one of the fools who believes that there is actually some value in the tech that can be unlocked, and actually have strong use cases around that, and that's something I feel like has a lot of potential and not just the quick get rich quick aspect of things.
What was the aha moment for you about Web3, given your music industry experience? What was
The
that
first
moment that
conversation he had with me, basically.
what did you tell him?
I think Anand came actually after I joined the eDAO. I had my aha moment after I joined Web3. I think that's what he's saying. But I think I was helping Sony also, and working with their Web3, on their Web3 play with, I don't know if you've heard Setvi, which is the Sony Talent Ventures that they've launched. So sort of I was working with that team on what the Web3 strategy can be and what the potential applications of music and NFTs can be, and sort of working through that, I realized that there is a lot of red tape that can be cut in music currently. I mean, if you have to release a song today, there's publishing societies, there is music recording societies, and within publishing, there are multiple labels. So each song being released has tons of paperwork that needs to be done, and rights are managed, but they're managed very much in the back end and not very, very clearly understood by a lot of people. So I felt like publicly on chain being able to do these things, revenue instantly split amongst all the parties that are involved in creating a song, which are a lot of parties, and therefore I felt like that is brilliant in terms of the technology itself and its application.
Actually, Akshay, Anand, if you don't mind me, I wanted to go slightly deeper into what Miru just said because I actually don't know what the process of releasing a song is. Right? Like you mentioned some bits of it, which is red tape. There's multiple societies involved. But say I'm an artist and I want to release a song. What are the steps that is involved for me to work with the label, have it distributed, and that kind of stuff? Like,
See, if you're going to a label, you first of all need to already have some sort of a base of followers or fans, because the labels are also sort of, they're looking at TikTok and they're looking at the short video platforms and seeing what the following of an artist is or how many listens they've got on Spotify before signing them. So you don't have a chance with a label unless you've got, a million people or at least 100, 200,000, 300,000 people listening to you, and you're sort of a rage on Instagram or something, right? Then you're getting signed, or you're an emerging artist. All of a sudden, you reach number one on Spotify India or top five in Spotify India. You're being noticed. They'll buy the song and then give you a 5-song deal. So that's how labels would work ideally. But if you're
Wow,
not,
that's actually different from 5 to 8 years ago, right? Where there were scouts and talent scouts and all these folks who would go and look. Is that a fair comment or like?
yes, it's no, it was
Yeah.
actually different 1 year ago.
Okay.
Where-
All right.
and
Fair enough.
there is still a team, ANR, which is artist and repertoire, which is focused on acquiring artists and scouting and going into the weeds in studios and meeting people and going to live gigs and sort of getting artists in. But this
And
is
that's been replaced with a crowd vote, effectively, right?
not replaced, I would say augmented,
Augmented. Okay.
with what you call, short video platforms, because a lot of music discovery has shifted to Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, of course. My workout playlist is almost exclusively what I've heard on Instagram and the full version of the song.
I mean, it's gone to so far that now, labels are going to be, I think, soon releasing songs which are 30-second clips or 15-second clips that are specifically made for reels and not actual songs on Spotify, right? And can try to find 1 minute versions of that they can legally put on a streaming platform and still get revenue.
This is true because I was speaking to a DJ friend who said that, bro, don't need to play even a minute of a song anymore. I just need to play the pre part before the main chorus part. That's what everybody already knows, right? You want me, I want you, baby. This is like it was like a trend. This is a song that I didn't even know. I didn't even know the song was sung by like a major artist, right? Like I didn't even know, and they just play that part, and that's it. Then next, what's the next dopamine hit?
So yeah, so signing with a label, I think, is going to be a little bit of a task unless you've arrived somewhere. The other options are, applications like DistroKid or CD Baby, which are digital distribution platforms. So you have a song, you will put all the credits there, and they will do most of the work for you. But the fact is that the work that they are doing in the background is still requires, working with multiple societies. So if there's a song, suppose there are multiple songwriters who have written the song. If there are two people who have written a song or three people who have written a song, then there is somebody who's worked on the composition itself, on what are the different parts of the song and how do you arrangement of it, right? Putting that together. The third person has actually produced and mixed the song. The fourth person or fifth person has sung the song, right? So there is already six people involved. Now, two of these people are signed with Warner, two with Sony, three with Universal. Now imagine a brand trying to license that song, and Sony saying मैं तो इतना लेगा, वो बोला मैं तो इतना ही लेगा, वो कभी वो डील ही नहीं sign होता है half the times. So in the back end, even if DistroKid and CD Baby are managing the rights of that song or anybody else is, the fact is that there is a lot of slow burning processes that sort of really put, and music industry hasn't been able to like go as much as video or really realize its true potential because a lot of these issues I feel in the background. So while CD Baby, DistroKid, Sony Music, all these major labels handle all of this with publishing societies and royal publishing societies in UK and stuff like that, but the fact is that it is still a very manual and a process that requires to be sort of handled across multiple people, and therefore slows it down considerably. It can be much more efficient. Then when the revenue comes, इट हैज टू बी डिसाइडेड, अच्छा वो पब्लिशिंग को इतना जाएगा, देयरफॉर वो राइटर को इतना जाएगा, कंपोजर को इतना जाएगा, उसको इतना जाएगा, वो भी सोसाइटी डिसाइड करेगा, म्यूजिक रिकॉर्डिंग को इतना जाएगा, लेबल को इतना जाएगा, आर्टिस्ट को उतना जाएगा. So all of that is actually very complex mathematics that happen in the background.
So,
Yeah.
so if you were to let's tap into the Zach Weinberg school of Web3 critique, okay, and I guess his response would be, oh well, you have this NFT and you can issue it and it's programmatic, but if you were to have to enforce these rights that you've created through this programmatic distribution of royalties, you'd still have to go to a court. Is that right?
Hmm.
And have the court recognize those rights. Is that a fair comment, or do you think the court of public opinion with social media will create pressure on people who right click and save against it?
So what you mean, the distribution of that revenue and the ownership of those rights is what the court will.
Well, let's say there's somebody who plays the song and not pay, like they do right click and save. They kind of right click and save the song and don't end up paying the royalty. Would your recourse be in a court of law, in which case it kind of reinstigates the same issues of IP rights, or would it be through the court of public opinion where a mob descends upon you for using the song without
Or a
paying
third
the
a
artist?
third option is or a third option is to eventually the tech gets to a point where these instances are fewer, or it like what Apple Music did, which is made it so cheap for you to just be able to use it for a certain amount of time, or one time use, or whatever it is.
That would be the ideal option, but I think it has to be courts. It cannot be a mob, obviously, as the regulation evolves. But the way that we can look at music right now is not necessarily straight away with saying, only people with the NFT can listen to the music, right? There are multiple ways in which you can engage in music, within music, and Web3. One is clear. I think some musicians have done a really really good job of that, whether it's Avenged Sevenfold, or Blau, who basically built very strong communities where they're saying, either patronage, use NFTs as patronage, use NFTs as art, use NFTs as access, use NFTs as access to real life events and access to the artist, right? So it's almost like fandom and super fandom, and that's how they have sort of built a community around that. The other aspect, which is really interesting, is uh, you know investment in the artist and investment in the creativity, where folks can actually invest in talent, and say this could be 100,000 fans there Instagram pay. I think this guy is going to blow out, and let's say he's raising money through NFTs or tokens or whatever the device may be and legalities around that may be. That person is raising money to say, I want to release 3 albums in the next 3 years, so I need $50,000, right? So people have actually invested that money. That person has gone on to release and said, I promise that 20% of my Web2 revenues I will redistribute amongst people who have actually invested in me and believed in me, and therefore they should see the
Hold on.
upside.
So isn't that like a securities regulation issue
It
where
is,
uh,
it is,
uh,
and therefore we have to find ways of making that money that comes back in as real tangible value versus cash, right? You can say lifetime access to, or five years ticket access to all my concerts here around the world,
hmm.
for example. Guaranteed merchandise I will give you, for example. So we'll have to figure out, those are ways, and we are still also working on some of the artists that want to work with us and figure out what is that model, and we haven't been able to pin it completely, but that is how we are looking at it also. And Anand, you want to add a little bit more, because I remember you had some ideas on how this, when the investors sort of get that revenue back, in what form can those revenues be?
You mean our discussion about tax evasion and stuff? Not that. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Just kidding.
Okay.
Anand, maybe it's useful for you to talk a little bit about your previous role, and what got you to where you are here, just for the benefit of the viewers who may not have heard of you, who will be a minority, but we still want them to know what your background is.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I got here like I did every inflection point in life by stumbling upon it. Before this, I used to be the steward of Metaverse, which is the largest NFT fund in the world. I was one of the two guys that won the Christie's auction in March 2021, and bought the $69 million People piece. But believe it or not, I've done crazier things since, one of which was Dreamverse, which is the largest NFT art exhibition in the world, in the heart of New York, that happened in November of 2021, and a bunch of other stuff. And so now I'm with eDAO. I'm the co-founder and CEO of eDAO. eDAO is essentially a barge that gently transports brands and content creators and fans from Web 2 to Web 3. That's in a nutshell where I've been at. So I entered the Web 3 space in 2017. I found my groove in 2020 when the world went into lockdown and we were all sort of looking inward. I found my tribe in the metaverse, in the NFT space, and I became Twobadaur, which is a pseudonym I took on. I did a lot of stuff there, stewarded metaverse.
But you did take off that exosuit, is
I
as
did.
you called it. Is that? Can you explain a little bit more about the birth and retirement of Tubador?
Sure. I mean, the idea of having an exosuit comes, it's inspired a lot from Balaji's commentary on how we use identities and pseudonyms, the pseudonymous economy. Basically, that was one of the inspirations for it, to see how far you can take a pseudonymous identity in this new sphere, right? And it so happens you can take it pretty far. For me, it was super useful because it was extremely freeing in that you couldn't bring any of your previous baggage with you into a new space, right? All of the supposed credentials or things you think you're proud of, basically you're starting with a clean slate. At the same time, as a pseudonym, when you operate in this new space, nobody is able to judge you based on what you look like, what color you are, what you sound like, where you're from. What you see is what you get, basically. So your ability to add value is at a very pure level, and that was extremely empowering. So I hadn't realized that I could have that kind of an impact, or could form those kinds of bonds within the NFT ecosystem as I had. So that was the origin story of Tubudu, basically. For 6 months I sort of built that persona before metaverse as an idea. Both Metacoven and I agreed on and started that as a fund, as an experiment to sort of dabble and dive into the NFT space. The reason I left it behind again is to very beautifully complete the circle of the idea of a pseudonymous identity. The only thing that separates your avatar in some on Xbox from an NFT pseudonym is the fact that you can take it away and hand it over to somebody. It has actual value. And both of us, when I even introduced the idea of pseudonyms and exosuits, thought, had recorded right then that somebody else could wear it. It just doesn't have to be me. Somebody else could wear it and do that, and that's what it's meant for now. I don't know if anybody else can wear it with the kind of style that I brought into it, but generally the idea is that it's available for anybody else to take it forward, and that I think is very exciting.
Bro, I want to ask about the people piece, okay? Because I am not massive on NFTs in the sense that I have a bunch of friends who are flippers, all right, and they really like when we were at the peak of the bull, the NFT bull market. They were constantly flipping NFTs, and so during that moment, I ended up getting a couple, and I open the app or my wallet, and I'm always looking at it. I caught myself looking at it every now and then. Do you do that with the people, please? I just want to know if you just look at it once a day. Like, is that a habit?
I mean, not on purpose, right? With the people piece, I don't have to open up my app and look at it. It's everywhere. Every time you see an article about NFTs, you open up, it's there in front of your face. So that part is there. It's
Yeah.
sort of burned into your consciousness in very interesting ways, because it's so associated with the NFT boom. So yeah, that part is there.
Or once in a while, just opening it, saying, "Still here, it's mine." I used to feel that with my worthless NFTs also. I can't even imagine what that's like. What was that like, bro? What was that like to realize in that moment that it's yours? Like it's worth 70 million. Like what was that like? I want to know that day. Like, did you plan it, and how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, Metacoin is going to kill me for this. So the thing is, simple fact is, our relationship was very simple, right? He's the guy with the money, and I'm the devil on his shoulder, pointing him in. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. That was my job, basically. Practically spending Metacoin's money was my entire job as the steward of Metaverse, right? In interesting direction. So it was very intense, yeah, emotionally very draining, and also it was a mind fuck before and after also, in very interesting ways. Uh, we we spent the previous 3 or 4 weeks basically dealing with Christie's, in a sense, to guys, look at us, recognize us as actual buyers, or people who might potentially actually bid on the people piece. So and this is completely antithetical to crypto, right? In crypto, nobody can define or tell you where to spend your money on, or how much to spend. But in a traditional art house like Christie's, there are arbitrary ceilings set, limits set. So unless your grandfather had lunch with Abraham Lincoln, then you're not eligible to buy art on their platform. They'll say, okay, chal, you
Hmm.
can also do one small bid, but after that ceiling, let the big boys come and play, that kind of a thing. So
Ah.
Vignesh practically had to open up a lot of data, personal data, financial data, to tell them that this is all in kosher.
Yo, I'm a
We
serious
spent a lot
player.
of time, yeah, we had to spend a lot of time understanding the auction platform, which I don't think a lot of people do. The tech behind
Hmm.
it, he went and inspect element type of stuff. What are the mechanics of it? What are the points of potential failure? Because when a lot of people come into that website, something's going to happen, weird stuff is going to happen. How do we deal with that, and so on the day itself? Any real bidder will tell you that they come in only in the last 5 minutes. So any serious guy who wants to buy art does not go on the first day. You go in the last 5 minutes if you're serious about doing it, and finish the job and come back. And we sort of beat the competition, who we found out was Justin's son much later on.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious, right? It was almost poetic in that sense. Just imagine, like, this alternative what if kind of a story. If the piece had gone on to Justin, how the NFT space, the crypto industry would have
Was a big
changed.
part of being able to buy this just the like this subversive need to be like, yeah, we didn't have lunch with Abraham Lincoln, but we still won this.
Not really, it was a much more innocent than that, because we had no idea that it would go up to 69 million, right? There was no benchmark as such. We just went in because of the actual historic value of that piece. Yeah, just imagine a 250 plus year old institution for the first time acknowledging digital art as art, and at the same instant making it an NFT, right? So we had to bring it back home to the metaverse. That was the idea behind it. What would happen later on, we had no clue. We had like absolutely no idea what the repercussions would be, but the idea was to bring it back home to the metaverse where it belonged. That's all. The rest of the narrative sort of flowed naturally because of the weird and hyper intense reaction that we got after that. On the one side it was celebratory, on the other, like, people saying, is this even a legitimate sale at all? Did you guys actually pay the money? Is that even art? All of that stuff that wouldn't happen if someone else, if a white guy had bought the Beeple piece. Let's be honest about it, right?
Hmm.
So we had to deal with those reactions also, and it sort of went into a bit of self introspection. So how do we feel about this? How do we talk about this, and so on and so forth? Yeah.
Bro, amazing. This has blown my mind. This is amazing. What a great story. So let's come to eDAO, right? Guys, what are you guys up to? What's eDAO? Why should everyone care?
Okay, I want to sort of circle back to what Meru said, yeah, about the whole the music scene, and
Monetization.
what the current monetization and so on and so forth, right? So I think music has not yet had its moment in the metaverse. It's waiting for a proper vehicle. Art, because it's not as portable as music, has been able to do what it does. Music is like even more easier than right click save. Once the tune is out there, there's nothing else holding it back. So it's very difficult to not just monetize, but also to make your experience sort of exclusive, which is where the whole NFT space stands now. Unless it's not actually truly non-fungible, then it's not very useful. The idea of buying prints of a music piece has not like super caught on yet, and I think Meru is very close to solving that problem with eDAO, and the ticket is in deploying ideas which are as blockchain native as possible, in not like sort of copying or aping existing systems and making them just more efficient or NFTifying them, but using underlying architectures or systems which cannot exist outside of the blockchain. One quick example that comes to mind is async music. You guys must have heard of async art, right? And async music. Basically, the idea of being able to separate a work of art into multiple layers, and each layer is owned by different people. So that the final masterpiece, everybody becomes a collaborator in that. Basically, it's programmable art. Similarly, programmable music. All of the independent tracks or stems can be owned by different owners, and each of those states or those stems now have multiple states also, right? For instance, the rhythm can have two different sounds but in the same meter. The strings can have two different states and so on. Just imagine if you've got like 20 tracks within the same song, each track with two different or three different states. How many permutations can you have of the same song, right? So when you create prints of that song, that is non-fungible. Those ideas are what we're trying to bring when we want to say, this is how a music NFT is supposed to exist.
Can you imagine? This is insane, right? Like when if each stem is can has the possibility of being an NFT, that's
Yeah.
insane,
And you
right?
can
Like
and
the
different go
the
find your complementary stem in the Discord
Yeah,
group
just the
and make
idea
us.
of giving me a headache, bro. The number of hours you spent at parties talking to friends about this bass line sounds like this, and this sound, this instrument has been used in this way. The idea that someone could actually own it is both interesting and also scary, right? Because at the end of the day, they're seven notes with across all instruments, like it's like that.
So I think, and expanding a little bit more on what Anand also said, is that there are lots of IP holders in the media and entertainment industry, and everybody wants to do a lot of interesting stuff in Web3. Everybody wants to have a strategy on the metaverse and on the NFTs. But what ends up happening is they put their photo on a NFT and put it on a platform and think that people
Correct.
are going to put $69 million on it. Well, so that's I don't think that's going to happen. So that's where eDAO is sort of saying, what is this fan base of this IP? What are the what are the qualities that this fan base has in terms of what do they like, what they don't like, what is it that they want from their artist, and basically be able to create an immutable relationship with the fan base of that IP on the blockchain, and be able to find the right narrative in which to enter Web3. And what is the narrative that you should build as a brand or as an IP owner, and how do you unlock blockchain, and what is the provenance and the authenticity and all of those different elements that blockchain brings as a technology? How do you unlock them, and how do you build narrative with with that fan base that you already have, and then sort of come into Web3 with a single-minded goal of saying, we are no longer platform dependent. The fan base of this IP now has a direct relationship with it, which cannot be changed and is etched, forever. And how the eDAO does it is multiple different ways also, right? We write seed checks. We have an NFT studio, which is a bunch of Unreal Engine game developers, and graphic designers, storytellers, lore makers, that kind of a thing. We've got a full tech stack.
Lore
Also,
makers.
yeah, lore makers indeed.
Aren't they called writers? Last I heard, they were called writers.
Man, get with the times, yeah, Tanmay.
No, they make lore these days.
Yeah, can you give me an example? What does a lore maker do?
Lore maker writes the narrative of what is the backstory, or for
He
example, what
writes
is the
only,
Ah,
but
what is
yeah,
the background of what is the context.
okay. So this
uh,
NFT collection is called Fluffy Penguin. Where did Penguin come from?
exactly.
What was his family like? Got it. Okay,
why is
got
he
it.
so fluffy,
Got
and
it.
what
Why
Right.
is he so
What's
fluffy?
wrong
Yeah.
with you? Web3, like Web2 sweats, Web3 glows.
Yeah, got it. Got it.
What?
yeah, so no, that's it, man. So it's investment. It's basically helping folks understand the Web3 space and get them on board
So it's
in
like
the
a
right.
launch pad. It's like a launch pad for traditional Web 2, entertainment companies
Hmm,
to get into Web 3, which is actually much needed because right now there's a lot of Web 2 executives coming for free drinks at Web 3 meetups, and that's it. And then dropping a contact on Telegram, and then nothing happening
exactly.
from there. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's one piece of the puzzle that we are solving for, and the other piece that we are solving for is, well, now you have a bunch of NFTs, right? Art, music, gaming, and sort of so many NFTs that you have. Um, what are you going to do with them besides flip them, right? We're trying to solve that problem as well.
I actually had a question for everybody, right? Actually, I want to ask you also. Like sometimes when I see people discuss, hey, this NFT, it is access, right? Okay, this is gonna give you access to X number of things, and whenever I see that, I'm like, is is this not possible in Web 2? Because it sounds like a ticket, right? It just turns into a tradable asset. It just goes on the chain. Is that the one big, massive difference? Basically, it's adding a speculative layer on top of a ticket. Is that not it?
I'll let Akshay go first. If my answer is not smarter than his, I'll not speak.
um, I think there are a couple of things. One is it's capital markets for everyone, right? You've seen that opera meme, which is capital markets for you, capital markets for you, capital markets for everyone. And so, there's a long tail of assets that, what does access to a musician in the backstage? What should that be priced at? And capital markets are the most efficient way of pricing anything, right? Dynamic pricing is a function of liquid capital markets, and so today it's set by someone, right? But tomorrow it'll be set by the crowd. So just from a pure pricing perspective, I think that's
Yeah.
a valuable,
So who wants it the most and how much they're willing to pay for it? It's pretty simple,
right.
right?
And it's you're trading these on the internet with a vast audience, and you get the most distribution of potential buyers, right? So I think that's kind of valuable.
That's a
The
significant jump over the this thing. Hmm.
Right. And I think the second is, you know, because you kind of, in all these platforms like Eventbrite or any other ticketing platforms you may use, um, you don't, like, others can't build stuff over them. For instance, they have to provide an API for you to for you to understand who attended the Metallica concert. But what if you could find Metallica fans by virtue of the NFTs they owned, or at least you couldn't find the fans but you found their wallets? Can you build something for them permissionlessly? And this kind of allows that to happen. And so I while I have not really been able to understand art as NFTs and music as NFTs, I do understand to an extent NFTs as like this decentralized CRM, effectively, where the wallet, where instead of making an entry into a ledger on Mailchimp against your name saying you're a Metallica fan and tagging you, I'm tagging your wallet directly, because there are no centralized databases in, crypto. I'm tagging your wallet instead with an NFT, that you're a Metallica fan, which allows anybody to read from that database and, if they so choose, do something for you.
Anand, did he do a good job?
Yeah, I think terribly good job. Yeah, I should shut up, but I can't help myself. So I might add another layer
No,
of.
please go for it.
Please go for it.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I think we're looking at access NFTs in a very limited way. That is not an accident, because all access limit NFTs only give you access to a certain vertical within culture, right? So there is nothing even within a particular vertical. Say there is no all access pass for gaming within the ecosystem. There is no all access pass for music even, right? So that makes it a very narrow experience any which way you look at it. So unless you can like scale that experience up, or that spectrum of experiences, and broaden it and make it really rich, then only then does that NFT or that ticket start to see value at the first level. The second level, the problem we actually need to be solving is not just access, but it is, as an individual, right? All of my cultural experiences, there is some value to it, but the only people that are accruing value from it are the ones that are selling me those experiences, whether it is a music label or a movie or whatever it is.
Correct.
Because I'm consuming your content, that value is extracted by them. uh, where is it coming back to me, right? So that is the problem that crypto
Yeah,
can solve.
tradable asset.
Again, tradable asset, but not just by trading, right? I accrue some sort of experiential currency which I need to hold on to, which is precious, simply by by dint of it being there. But I should be able to convert that into something also. Very simply speaking, if I were to distill it down to the base level, it's like like my credits here, or points or tokens that I get for existing within an ecosystem, right? Say I've been in the system for the last couple of years and I'm a collectibles aficionado. If I switch my interest to music, then my social status or social currency, I have to start from zero again. The next day to movie NFTs, I have to start from zero again and go. Whereas an access pass needs to essentially allow you to accrue your social currency irrespective of what direction you take, because you're a human being. You're not target audience for one particular kind of NFT. And eDAO fundamentally is that, it is that platform where we give you access to an entire spectrum of cultural experiences with one single access pass. And what you do with that access pass is not only have exposure and access to a wide range of cultural NFTs, irrespective of what direction you take. I buy an art NFT today, movie NFT today, music NFT, my points keep going up. I get more airdrops, I get more privileged access to, or conditional access, discounted access to a future range of NFTs. So while I retain my core focus or interest in, say, gaming or movies or music, I am treated as a human being with multiple interests, who doesn't only sit in a gamer's chair all day, but also enjoys other music, and give him that exposure and reward him for that cultural exposure or that cultural consumption. So that's essentially what eDAO does from this side. So while on the other side, it enables brands and IPs and creators to plug into an immersed and sort of engaged community of people who are already consuming. On this side, it gives these guys the richest possible cultural experience that they've never had and rewards them for it.
All right. So I have a question. I'm a movie studio. All right. I've been making movies for about 10 years. All right, I have a few IPs. I manage, say, five or six actors. Um, I have about, yeah, a few hits. I have a slate coming up for the next 5 years. What should I not be doing? Right? Because I know there are a lot of folks who are interested, but bad guidance can often ruin things for them. So, what should they definitely not do? What are some don'ts for existing entertainment companies?
Don't drop an NFT in 3 weeks. First rule of thumb. Just because your movie is releasing in 3 weeks and you, oh shit, yeah, we should do an NFT about this. Don't do that first.
Why should they not do that? Because there's all this marketing going behind it.
Yeah, it just won't sell, Tanmay. Especially in India, it doesn't sell because
Hmm.
one, NFTs, because they've been so overpriced in the market, we don't know how to sort of price it for the Indian market. Nobody's discovered it. So either the celebrity or the star or the talent or the studio feels they're undervalued. They're not even able to scale it properly. So the economics, the dynamics simply do not work there. The second is that when you do an NFT drop in a hurry without considering the context or the demographic or the time that you're dropping it, what essentially happens is that you have no buyers finally. So, for these two reasons, don't do it in 3 weeks. The slightly longer answer is basically that also recognize that this is a new frontier, right? So, you have this chicken and egg problem here. So do I have a critical mass first and then engage, or will I get that engagement only by putting some skin in the game,
By
putting some
doing the
resources,
NFT.
putting
Yeah,
some,
got it.
by doing the NFT? So that chicken and egg problem is still there. So the solution here is to first, like, take a step back, recognize that, boss, this is not going to be a short term, put my name stamp on a JPEG and sell an NFT. What can I do slightly differently, which hasn't been done before, which I will look at as a new revenue stream rather than something that can augment an existing revenue stream? That will be the first question to ask. And then we'll have the rest of the answers. Meru.
Also, Anand, I think one more thing is that the intention behind doing it. I mean, if you're just saying, okay, one more additional revenue stream for my IP, let me just put it out there and hope for the best that it's going to sell. That's not doesn't work if you're not adding any value to people's lives and really figuring out why you're doing it in the first place. So.
All
And you're
right.
Hey,
missing
can
the
I ask you
potential
guys
also,
something?
no? You're essentially, sorry, you're essentially plugging into a potentially global marketplace, right? That's what the NFT space offers. It is global instantly. So why the heck would you confine yourself just to the structure of your current launch or your product? Like, you can very easily collaborate with something that's completely radical, completely different, which otherwise you'll have to spend millions of dollars in trying to sell in a web 2 community. Here, because the community is already cohesive, you can do that and drop something new. So that's kind of why.
What is a good NFT drop for a movie? Is there an example or at least a philosophy?
Or are you guys working on something with some studio? Can
Yeah.
Yeah,
can you
that
give some alpha?
that, yeah, no alpha here, but no, but honestly, I have not seen a good example of a movie NFT yet. I don't think any of us have. Not just because they've not been like in the news or super priced, but for the reasons that we just mentioned. A movie project is complex enough by itself, and NFTs are generally an afterthought. What a good
No, I have an idea.
movie
I have
NFT
an
would.
idea.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
What if, say, Marvel comes out with this NFT? Okay, it's 10 NFTs. Okay, these NFTs are tradable only 10 times. Okay, just 10 times. Each NFT gets you an opportunity to be a walk-in on in one of the scenes somewhere. You're on set somewhere. Okay, you're the background. You just walk from left to right. You're doing something, and you can only trade 10 times. So it's the first person who gets it, sells it, and that's it. The 10th per holder gets it. What do you
Hmm.
think? This is a good idea?
It is, yeah. It's a kick-ass idea.
I'm looking. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Do you think it's a good
But
idea?
why?
Hey, Kevin, I need you to make this happen.
Yeah. Mr. Fiji, let's do this. Here's where Meru and I sort of diverge a little bit. Okay, so we want to move away from the idea of scarcity. Why sell 10 NFTs or 10,000? Yeah, I mean, there's millions of people out there. Why can it not be 100,000 NFT drop? is one way of looking at it. So if it is going to be 100,000 NFT drop, how should it be priced? What should be the structure? What should be the design? What should be the value add to all of those people? Those are the questions we're asking ourselves. And we're not selling to already Web3 aware folk who know the risks of MetaMask, and losing your password will lose all your money. That's fine. We are selling to my dad, trying to create something that my wife will be excited by and understand, my dad and my friends. If they don't get what I'm doing, then what's the point, right? So that's the direction I think we should be
I mean,
taking.
Anand, given the state of crypto Twitter, I promise you, your dad is probably more sophisticated in using MetaMask than some of these folks on Twitter.
Yeah.
um, so can you give us an example of a place, just given your diverse backgrounds, and now that you're working together, some recent disagreement you had? What was it about, and how did you resolve it?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Meru didn't want to do the podcast. He just wanted to do a meeting, and they disagreed on that.
we,
I had no
no,
idea.
we agreed on
I
that.
had no idea there was a meeting. I had no why we're meeting. I was like, what's the agenda? It's like it's an interview. Change your t-shirt. And I thought he
Hilarious.
was joking. But anyway, I anyway changed my t-shirt. I don't know why. And it worked out for the better, I guess.
I
So,
haven't changed my T-shirt since
I'm
morning. I
persuasive.
feel like you've
Yeah.
given this way more respect.
Mm. Interestingly enough, like Meru said, right, our approaches to things are super different, and so far they have been very complementary, I feel, because the background that he brings in the entertainment industry and the deep knowledge that he has is something that I can't replicate, because of my journey, which has been on a completely parallel track, right? And likewise for him. So we sort of meet somewhere at the middle, and it sort of meshes beautifully together, because the whole idea of eDAO is this only, right?
What a great
Not to
answer! What a
Yeah,
fantastic
yeah.
press trained
I
answer!
can
Love
feel
it,
it, right?
Anand.
Like this is,
Dude, look at the flow of this.
creative.
Not giving
Obviously
us
not
any
press trained. Yeah.
buzz.
Meru
I'm
is probably like one execution genius, okay? And Anand is like a creative person. This is writer negotiating with line producer saying, "Can you please let me shoot
Mm.
this way?"
I
Or
have an example.
director.
I
Yeah.
have an example. I think Anand today only told me. I said, "Oh, this person I've just met, he's fantastic.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
we
yeah.
should on that." I was like, "Boss, what the hell? Like, I'm not gonna pay $1 million salary. Fuck that shit."
It's not happening.
And
Yeah.
we disagreed on that, but then immediately I think we realized that we should not be having that also.
Hmm.
So, or
No,
we should agree. There was
see, again,
it's like
complimentary for me, right? So it's I need somebody to say this is a shit idea, don't do it. And that's very
Hmm.
rare, yeah, especially
Yeah.
in
Creative
a
people need
young
that.
industry.
Creative
No,
people need
in a
that.
young industry, that's like super
Hmm.
rare for me. So
Sounds a little familiar
happy
to
with that.
me. Hmm.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Anand, I have a question for you, right? I know this will be super useful for a lot of folks who are watching.
It depends on how well I answer, Yatanmai. Seriously, the question will
No,
be
no,
useful, I'm
it will
sure.
be. It will be. It will be because I'm asking you something that you've previously done before, right? I have a bunch of friends, and this culture is slowly emerging in India, right? Like they were my writer friends who had nothing to do with the Web3 world, but they suddenly discovered the world of NFTs. They're in, 25 Discord servers. They are buying and they're flipping and they're speculating and people are turning one ETH into 20 ETH and all this stuff. Like this culture exists now. When you used to convince Metacoven on which NFTs to splurge his money on, right? How were you scouting for these? How do you scout for what are some of the sure shot signs of a good NFT project, and what are some of the signs that you're early on it? Because at the end of the day, it's musical chairs, right? Like, what are some of the signs that you see when you see something that's of gonna be of value?
Part of my answer is going to be completely useless, because of what Meru said. I'm an OG, but I was never a degen, because we approached NFTs from a mindset of abundance. Till today, I have not sold a single NFT, and neither has Metacoin. Right? We've never sold an NFT. So the idea of being able to look at an NFT without the cloud of, can I flip this? How much is it going to cost? Ironically enough, that's what gets you to the really, the diamonds in the rough, things that are not recognized yet. Those kinds of ideas. There are basically only two kinds of ways, yeah, in which you sort of identify NFTs. Easiest is to stick with the context that you're familiar with, even in Web 2. If you've been a gamer all your life, look at gaming NFTs, because you understand the economics, you understand the dynamics, you understand in-game tokenomics. So it's easier for you to say that, oh, this shit is overpriced, or this is interesting, let me buy it. Same with sport, same with art. That's why a lot of people get into NBA Top Shots, because they understand basketball, or so rare because they understand football. Your entry point should be a context which you're familiar with. But the other degen part is anybody's guess, right? It's easy to see what the current trend is. I mean, if it's PFPs, go for PSPs for a little bit. If it's art with crypto motifs in it, a Bitcoin symbol and Ethereum symbol, that's all crypto art early on was, which is pretty shitty. But then I was able to hook into artists who completely defied that trend. And a professor from the University of Chicago once told me, so this guy's an art professor, and we were on a panel and all that. He said the only art that is going to end up in museums is art that does not look like art. And he said today 95% of art in the NFT space looks like art, which means it apes existing conventional ones. So I don't think they'll end up in museums, which is a very interesting point, right? And that's how I looked at not just art, but also uh, the whole NFT space in its entirety. When I'm scouting for a company, for instance, to invest in, if it looks like something that's familiar, if it fits a vacuum that exists today, then there's no point in it, because it's evolving so fast. It's going to go obsolete in 6 months. If there is a sufficient 35-40% ambiguity in how it's going to turn out, that makes it interesting.
Also, it's variable rewards means higher dopamine. Also, it's more fun.
Yeah,
It's
that's
more
true.
fun when things are a little ambiguous. Ki pata nahi. Love
That's
it.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Guys, what are some of the exciting projects you guys are working on at eDAO?
We're working on 2 or 3 proof of concepts for what eDAO can do, both at a consumer level and also at a brand level. So we're working with some big brands to build very bespoke proof of concepts with them. What could a music drop look like? What could an art drop look like? What could a zero alpha drop look like on eDAO? And how does it translate to you know to mass adoption, not just to a handful of people? So that's something we're working on. A project which we've already kicked off, which we're really excited about, is called Unlabel. It's an artist residency program, basically, where 8 NFT artists, they collaborate with 8 non-NFT artists, and over a period of 8 weeks, and at the end of 8 weeks, they drop 8 works of art on the front page of Rarible, effectively
Oh,
launching those non-NFT
nice.
artists there. And this is a perpetual cycle that we're going to run, right? So it's going to be every
So
8 weeks.
cool.
We're thinking about scaling it really well, because there's a lot of interest again from artist collectives, musician collectives, and we're going to use traditional blockchain art platforms like Rarible. Rarible is not known for like super high art, but that has been the portal of entry for some of the biggest artists in the NFT space today. Like guys like Xcopy, Matt Kane, Sparrow, and all of those, they started at Rarible. So we're going to use that. For music, it'll happen on async music, and so on and so forth. We'll expand it. But broadly speaking, 3 very powerful POCs, a product launch which we hope will get our these eDAO passes, name not confirmed yet, to vast numbers of people and not just a handful of them, and the excellent unlabeled program.
Amazing. Are y'all hiring?
Meru, are we hiring?
Yeah,
He's going to
definitely.
shoot me down if I say
Um,
yes.
we are. I mean, we are hiring, but I think mostly for community, and folks who can really keep a bunch of people excited about things and inspired themselves about what we're doing. Then can keep other people inspired and sort of
Where
talk
can
to.
people write to you guys if they want to apply? Is there a website? Is there a
On eDAO.co, or they can just email me directly at mairu at eDAO.co, and it's Meru.
guys? Before we go, I have one last question. So my friend Ritviz is working on his new album. I'm listening to some of his stuff right now. It's pretty exciting. I like it's a new direction he's taking. If Ida was to do something with Ritviz, have you guys worked with musicians? Like, what are some of the ways to for a musician to launch a new album? Using this new technology.
Ask him to hit us up, bro.
Get him off Wazir X to start with.
Wow.
Wow, brutal. Wow, Shantanu was his artist. Sorry, Shantanu. On behalf of Mairu, I want to
Just
say sorry.
absolutely wrecked an exchange and an artist in that.
All right. I'll ask him. I'll ask him to
It is
hit you
not.
guys up. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. This was very fun. I got to learn a lot. I'm sure there are many folks who are into NFTs and this space who found it very interesting. Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you so much, Meru. Check them out with the link in the description and feel free to apply if you want to work with these fine gentlemen. See you guys next time.
See you.